Hi friends, welcome to Pixie Dust Wanderlust. I'm Sarah, and on my channel I'm going to be sharing my travel adventures both near, far, and everywhere in between. So today we're going to be preparing for a 3-night cruise on the Disney Dream out of Fort Lauderdale, and this is a pack with me video. I'm going to bring you along as I get ready for this trip. We're actually leaving tomorrow. I usually pack further in advance, but things have been busy. And I'm also going to be giving some tips and tricks for if you need to travel personal item only. This was kind of a spontaneous trip. We didn't plan this far in advance. We just saw a really good deal on this particular cruise. Happened to go and look and say, well, what could we find in terms of flights? Found dirt cheap flights through Frontier. And so we decided, okay, we're gonna do this simply. We're gonna pack light. We're not paying for any extra baggage. So we're traveling personal item only. So that means we need to be strategic about what we pack, but I wanna show that you can travel personal item only without going completely bare bones. You can have options. You can still pack fun clothes. And hopefully I'm gonna be showing that everything I'm packing fits. I haven't pre-packed, so we're gonna do it together and see how it works out. All right, so we're gonna start off with talking about what kinds of bags you wanna choose. My first tip, if you're traveling personal item only, is to make sure that you choose the right bag. All right, so just checking on the sizing so that I can be accurate for you, at least at the time of filming, Frontier's personal item bag policy is that you can have a personal item with the dimensions of 18 inches by 14 inches by 8 inches. So first off, make sure that you do check the size of your bag. Don't just assume that it's going to be big enough or small enough, I guess, and make sure that the dimensions are gonna work for their requirements. They are strict about it. We've flown Frontier before, and it does sound like it kind of varies from flight to flight. Maybe it depends on the flight attendant's mood, preferences, whatever. But at least when I've flown before, they have had people check their bags in the baggage sizer, and you don't want to be the one who's holding up the line, or worse, have to pay a big fee to have a carry-on instead of a personal item. So do make sure that your bag fits those dimensions before you go to the airport. And I'm not going to advise that you go out and buy a new bag if you don't travel very much, but if you do travel frequently, and especially if you like to take advantage of some of those low-cost airlines, it does help to get a bag that is specifically designed for personal item travel. So I'm going to show a couple of options. The bag that I'm using for this trip is actually new, but I have purchased bags from this brand before. My other kind of personal item backpack that I've used before is from the same brand. It's Bag Smart. And I will link the items that I'm showing today below in the caption. So if you're interested in any of these, you can go and check below and find those on Amazon. Just as a quick note, I am going to post affiliate links. So that means that I do get a little bit of money back if you purchase by following my links. If you're interested, I'd appreciate it. It supports the channel. But just full disclosure, these are not sponsored products. They're products that I purchased with my own money and that I actually use and would recommend. But if you follow my link, I do earn a little bit of commission back. All right, the bag that I'm using today is this roller personal item from Bag Smart. I actually ordered 3 of these. My husband, my daughter, and myself are going on this trip. And like I said, I have a personal item backpack from Bag Smart that I've used for a couple of trips before. I've actually used it for a personal item only trip earlier this year, and it worked really well. But my only issue was that I don't want to have to lug a heavy bag on my back all day, especially not knowing how long it is until we can get into our cruise stateroom, and not wanting to be uncomfortable all day. So I did find this roller bag that has an extendable trolley handle. If you have additional items that you're bringing along that you would want to maybe slide over the handle, you can do that. Or if you're doing a bigger trip where you wanted a nice personal item plus a carry-on, it does have the little trolley strap here, so you can attach it to a larger suitcase as well. I've been really impressed with Bag Smart products when I've used them before, so that's why I went with this particular one. And some of the features of this bag that I liked, obviously the wheels and the trolley handle. It also has good compartments. So we've got a strap here to kind of compress down the clothing that you include. It does have this mesh pocket to separate out any items in the main compartment. And then there are 2 additional compartments as well. So you've got Actually, there are 3 additional compartments. I'm discovering along with you. So we've got this one that has a nice laptop sleeve and space for like documents. I think I might put my toiletries in here. We'll see how that works. There's another front pocket that's a little bit smaller that has a couple of good compartments here for separating out maybe smaller items that you don't want to get lost in the bottom of the bag. This might be where I put like my Kindle or anything that I want to access during the flight. And then a small front pocket, which would be good, again, if you're traveling personal item only, you only get that one bag. So for example, if you tend to travel with a purse, you might want to put some of those items that you want to be able to easily get to in this front pouch. That's probably what I'm going to do. And then pack my little crossbody bag separately, because again, it kind of depends on the staff of the airline when you're boarding. Sometimes they'll let you have a little crossbody if it's on your body. Sometimes they'll say, no, you need to be able to condense that down to one bag. And so I don't want to mess with that in the moment. So I'm probably just going to put my purse items in the front, put my crossbody inside, maybe in one of these pockets, and then I can access that all when I get to my destination. All right, so let's get started. I'll talk a little bit about what I'm bringing along, and then I'll probably do a little bit of a time lapse so that you can see me actually pack and work with the things, and then we'll talk about how it worked out. And actually, real quick before we get into packing, I wanted to show you the Bag Smart personal item backpack that I mentioned that I also have. This one I would actually say is a little bit better for capacity and for the separation of compartments. But again, if you don't mind having the weight on your back, if you don't mind carrying all of your things with you for the whole trip, however long that might be, this is a really good option. It also has an expander zipper here, so you don't want to fly with it expanded. It will not fit the personal item size requirements if you do that, but you can zip it down, and if you needed to carry some extra things while you're at your destination, for example, you would be able to do that. So I like this backpack because, like I said, it has some really nice separation features. It also has things like these little compression straps so that you can tighten that up when it's all packed up and have everything, even if it is really solidly, heavily packed, you can have everything really condensed and small when you need it to be small. So if you're interested in this, I'll also link it below. All right, so let's take a second and talk through what I'm bringing with me. I know somebody is going to ask about the cat. That's Luna. She's my grumpy girl, but she likes to hang out wherever I am. So she's hanging out with us for packing today. And I know that somebody is going to look at this and say, this is a lot of clothes for 3 days. Other people are going to say that's nothing. But I did just want to show that you can pack options. Like I said, I haven't pre-packed, so we'll see how this works. But I am confident that I'm going to be able to make this work. So again, this is a 3-night, 4-day cruise. And so I'm packing for those 4 days. I'm not including my travel outfit, which I'm going to be wearing tomorrow, but I've got my boarding day dress here with my boarding ears. I'm going to be wearing that during the day on our first day on the cruise. I like to change my clothes for the evening, for dinner, for the shows. So I've got a cute skirt and little tank top bodysuit that I'm going to be wearing for that first evening. Our second day is at Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point, so it's a beach day. And I've got my swimsuit, and I actually have 2 cover-up options. I'll use this for our Lookout Key day, and I'll also probably use it for some pool time on our third day when we're in Nassau. So I've got a cute little Lily Pulitzer Disney cover-up dress there, as well as a little cover-up skirt that I can wear with it. Kind of, I could switch them out for those 2 days, or just kind of see what my mood says. I have my pirate night outfit. I do like to dress up for pirate night. So with that, I have my kind of poofy pirate night shirt. I've got a cute little kind of corset belt here that I wear with it, and some shiny black leggings. I'll add a little bit of jewelry, and I'll probably add the pirate night bandana in my hairstyle for that evening. For our third day on board, that's our Nassau day. At least for this cruise, we're going to use that as a sea day. We're not planning to get off, so we're just going to enjoy the ship, hang out, go in the pools, do trivia, whatever the mood strikes. Whatever the mood indicates we want to do. So I've got a cute little skirt that I'm going to be wearing with a tank top. And then for that evening, for dinner and for the shows, I've got a little dress and some chub rub, some thigh shorts to wear underneath that. So that is my outfit. I am planning, hi Luna, I am planning to either wear the same outfit for flight day on that last day that I used to travel there. So it might be a little bit grungy, but I always feel grungy on flight dates. If there's room, I do have an extra pair of shorts here that I'm gonna throw in, and then I have my pajamas and my undergarments as well. So all of that, I'm confident that I can fit in. I also have my toiletries and kind of extra items here. So as an important note for traveling light, especially traveling personal item only, is to pare down and to be wise with what you're using for packing your toiletries. I would say to simplify your routine, but you can also use good items so that you can bring more with you. I personally really love these pouches for my liquid toiletries. I also have some little spray bottles and a couple of these little pots. This is like my hair cream. I've got my leave-in conditioner here. I've got oils and serums that I use. So, I'm not saying you have to abandon your whole routine, but what is necessary, and then choose the items that are going to be really helpful for packing things down. So I love these pouches because they pack pretty flat rather than like the big bottles that take up a lot of space. And they only take up as much space as what you pack in them. So you don't have to fill them all the way full where they would, expand out. Instead, they can pack pretty flat if you're not putting a ton of liquid in there. And then I have a second pouch here. These are good for flying, carry-on or personal item only. They would follow the TSA requirements. And I keep my makeup and additional things like, headbands, my razor, my deodorant in here. So I separate out my liquids, and I know that there are a couple liquids in here technically, things like my mascara and my blush, but I've never had an issue with it. And if anybody did want to be a stickler, I could easily move those over here. That's not packed out full. All right, then I have a couple of other cruise items. If we were doing a longer cruise and I were packing a checked bag or even a carry-on bag, I might have a few more things. So I have simplified down my cruise essentials here for this short trip. So I've got things like a waterproof phone pouch. I do plan to try to take some video, take some pictures when we are at the beach at Lookout Key, so I'm gonna bring that along. I do have a wet bag here, so I like to bring this along for when we're packing up to travel home, because we might have wet swimsuits. You don't wanna stick those in with all your other stuff and everything gets gross. So if we do have some swimsuits that are still kind of damp, I'll throw those in there when I'm packing. This envelope is where I keep our cruise magnets. I like to make a new magnet for each trip that we take, and so I'll pack those away as well so that we can decorate our door when we get on the ship. They got buried here. I've got my Disney Magic Band Plus, as well as my husband's and my daughter's. On the cruise ships now, you can use those to unlock your stateroom. You can also use those to pay. They'll interact with things like the shows and the fireworks. So we like to bring those along for convenience, as well as the chargers that you need for those, because they'll die if you don't bring that along. And then I think a must on any cruise ship is an international, this is a European charger. You will have at least one European outlet in your stateroom. And if you don't bring along a converter like this, it's useless to you. So unless you have European plugs. So I bring this along, we can use the plug, but it also has USB and USB-C plugs. So we can use it to charge our devices, and it's not a wasted outlet on the ship. All right, so, and shoes. I have a pair of flip-flops that I'm going to be packing, and then I'll have one more pair of shoes that I wear on my travel day. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to be wearing my Crocs or some tennis shoes, so I'll probably make that decision tomorrow. But whichever one I choose, I always wear the bulkier pair of shoes on the flight and then put the smaller pair in my bag so that it's not taking up extra space. All right, so let's get going and see how all of this fits. So as you can see, I was able to fit everything in. If anybody has questions about how I pack things, how I make choices between like folding and rolling, packing cube and no packing cube, a lot of times I make that decision based on the trip. So I am a packing cube fan, especially for longer trips where I have more stuff that I'm packing and I'm trying to organize things. Packing cubes are perfect for organization. They're really a killer item for making sure you know where everything is, especially if you're transitioning from one place to another. We had a long trip this summer, almost 3 weeks, where we were transitioning throughout that trip, and packing cubes were a lifesaver. I've actually packed per location, and so I was able to pull out a packing cube and know that that had all of my items for that location, and I could leave everything else in the suitcase, and it was amazing. For a short trip like this, and especially for trying to pack personal item only, it's really helpful for me to just roll things up and fit it where I can. So when we get on the ship, I'm gonna unpack everything. I'm gonna hang all my items or fold them and put them on the shelves in the closet or in a drawer, and that'll be that. It's only for 3 days. It really isn't difficult to find what I'm looking for. And so in this case, I value space over organization, and I actually don't think that packing cubes necessarily save space. They might if you're using compression cubes, but I don't always like compression cubes. They smash everything down. Things can end up wrinkled. So I don't want to have to worry about that when I get to my location, and it's easier to just roll everything up and fit it where I can find a spot for it in my bag. So as you can see here, I've got it all packed up. I've got it closed. I didn't have to like sit on it or anything to zip it up. It fit easily. I actually have my tape measure here so I can measure it out and make sure that it fits those space requirements. So we are at under 18, including the foot, the little like feet that are on the bottom. We've got like 12 inches this way, so plenty of space. And this is where it might be challenging. I might need to smoosh it a little bit to get that 8 inches, but it can smoosh. Like I can easily smoosh it down because it is a soft-sided bag. And I don't think that this is honestly any bigger than when I've taken that backpack, and that one worked just fine. So I'm not worried about it. I think it's gonna fit easily. Just as full disclosure, I haven't packed my daughter's case yet, which I'm gonna do next off camera. She doesn't know about this trip, it's a surprise. And so she's not helping me pack this time. And obviously she's little, she's 10 years old, her clothes are smaller, and she doesn't care about changing for dinner. So I'm probably gonna have some extra space in her bag. So I do have some cruise essentials that I didn't put in here that I might stick in her bag if there's space. And I'll link those things below as well. A couple of things that I really recommend are a pop-up hamper. It helps immensely to keep your room organized. Those cruise rooms are small. On Disney Cruise, I think they're actually a little bit bigger than a lot of the other competitors, a lot of the other cruise lines, but they're still small. It can still get messy really easily. So most of my cruise essential items are things to help keep the stateroom tidy and organized while we're traveling so that it's not stressful. So I have a pop-up hamper that packs down really small. I'll go get it and I'll actually show you. All right, so this is my pop-up hamper. As you can see, it folds down really tiny into this little circle. It's really easy to just throw in a bag if you have a little bit of extra space. And then we just stick this in the closet on the stateroom, and every day as we're getting changed, all of our dirties go in here, and then when it's time to pack to go home, we can just stuff them in our suitcases without really worrying about it. If there's space, I'm also going to pack my little USB travel fan, especially for any of my perimenopausal girlies out there who need a breeze on your face when you're trying to go to sleep. This is wonderful. I love it. It has a little stand on the back so you can set it up on your nightstand. I usually go to sleep with this just blowing right on my face. I like having a breeze, a cool breeze on my face. And those staterooms, they're really comfortable and you can adjust the temperature, but they can get a little bit stuffy, especially if you're used to sleeping with a fan. So I like to travel with this. This one is great because it is pretty flat when you pack it up, and it has that little stand, and it's USB-C or USB-A charging. All right, another travel essential that I'm probably gonna stick in my daughter's suitcase if there's room is our portable sound machine. This thing is teeny tiny, but is amazing if you're used to sleeping with white noise, sleeping with a fan, sleeping with some sort of noise to help drown out any noise in the hallways. I haven't found the hallways on Disney cruise ships to be particularly noisy, but I do like to have some sort of white noise when I sleep. So this one is great. Again, I'll link it below if you're interested, but it has multiple sounds, you can adjust the volume, and it is also USB-C charging. So it's really, really convenient, and again, tiny to just throw into a bag if you have the space for it. All right, so thanks for joining me today. Obviously, I'm not completely done yet. I do still need to make sure that I can fit like my purse items. That's not a lot. I've got my little wallet. I'm gonna make sure that we have our passports in here. Make sure that you have your passports before you leave for your cruise. That would be heartbreaking to get there and not be able to board. So I'm gonna do those final checks and make sure I have our boarding documents, our passports, our IDs, and all of those sorts of things. I'm gonna pack up my daughter's suitcase as well and see if there are any of those cruise extras that I can fit into her case. But then tomorrow we are on our way. All right, so if you'd like to see more vacation content, more travel tips and tricks, the content from this upcoming trip, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. Also, if you found any of this content helpful, please throw a like down below. It really does help bring other people to my channel. And if you're interested with help planning your upcoming Disney trip, I am an authorized vacation planner with Mickey Travel's Vacation Agency. So I'll put the link down below. Using a travel planner costs you nothing extra, and I would be happy to help you plan your family's next amazing vacation. So follow along for our cruise content. We leave tomorrow and we're so excited. And if you made it all the way through to the end of the video, throw a cruise ship emoji down in the comments and let me know, have you been on a Disney cruise, especially the Disney Dream? Have you been to Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point? It's our first time with both of those, and we're super excited to sail the Dream and get to experience Disney's new island location. All right, so thanks for following along, and I'll see you next time. Bye.